The public reaction was explosive. National newspapers ran the leak on their front pages. Tabloid headlines screamed, "Labor's secret spy scheme." Protesters gathered outside Parliament within hours. Civil rights groups condemned the policy as draconian, Orwellian, and an abuse of power. Even former Labour leaders spoke out, a betrayal of everything the party once stood for. Social media exploded with hashtags like #StarvilleState and #BankAccountGate trending. Activists shared stories of families already struggling on benefits, now terrified that every pound spent could be tracked. The policy's cruelty was undeniable. Labour HQ went into panic mode. MPs demanded emergency meetings, while some threatened to resign. The backlash grew so intense that one anonymous shadow minister said, "We've been lied to. If these documents are real, and they look very real, then we're not just on the wrong side of policy, we're on the wrong side of history." Young staffers inside Labour, sickened by the deception, began leaking even more information. Internal polls showed support collapsing in key constituencies. Starmer's approval ratings plummeted, donors pulled back. Then came the devastating confirmation from the banks themselves. Several financial institutions confirmed that Labour had approached them about sharing data, although no formal agreement had been made. But the fact that these discussions happened was damning. A banking executive said, "We were shocked by the scope of what they wanted. This wasn't fraud prevention. It was financial surveillance at a national scale." There was no longer any doubt. The leaked documents were real, and so were the policies. What was supposed to be Starr's grand strategy to project control and seriousness had become a symbol of authoritarian overreach. Starr tried to deflect, brushing off questions and avoiding interviews, but the truth was out. The public knew, the party knew, and his MPs were ready to turn on him. This wasn't about policy anymore. It was about trust, and trust, once lost, rarely returns. The leaked surveillance plans revealed the deep, growing rift within the party. The left wing had long been at odds with the centrist Starr, and now it was clear that a civil war was emerging. The internal revolt didn't start with a bang, but with whispers. Quiet murmurs in Parliament halls, encrypted messages exchanged between MPs, and shared screenshots of damning emails. Backbenchers who had stayed silent for fear of deselection now spoke with rage. One MP privately said, "He lied to us, he lied to the country, and now he's thrown all of us under the bus." The Socialist Campaign Group, including figures like John MacDonald, Zara Sultana, and Clive Lewis, publicly condemned the policy, warning of moral bankruptcy. A letter from 42 MPs demanded an internal inquiry into how the policy had been conceived in secret. Starmer's deputy, Rachel Reeves, attempted to defend the strategy, but the damage was done. Moderates within the party also started to panic. A Midlands MP who had supported Starr said, anonymously, "I backed Kia for stability, but he's turned into a control freak who can't see when he's gone too far. We're looking at electoral disaster." The situation deteriorated quickly. Members of Parliament from all factions grew disillusioned. Even those loyal to Starmer were now questioning his leadership. Rumors began circulating about potential leadership challenges. It was no longer just about ideological differences, it was about survival. A crucial turning point came when Labour's governing body, the National Executive Committee, NEC, held an emergency meeting. Members of Parliament across the spectrum made impassioned speeches. Even those who had tried to stay neutral could not ignore the reality. The party was facing internal collapse. The NEC voted to set up an independent investigation into the leaks. This, however, was just a distraction. Everyone knew the real issue was Keir Starmer's leadership. In an act of desperation, Starmer called a press conference to address the crisis. With his trademark calmness, he denied the most extreme allegations, but his eyes betrayed his anxiety. "We are committed to tackling fraud. We will learn from this," he stated. But his words were hollow, no longer carrying the weight they once did. By the end of the week, Starmer's team began privately discussing options for damage control, reshuffling the shadow cabinet, staging a unity rally, and potentially softening their stance on the controversial surveillance proposals. But too late, the damage was irreversible. A new movement within Labour had begun to take shape, calling for Starr's resignation. Supporters of his leadership were now a vocal minority. The party was fractured beyond repair, and a leadership challenge loomed on the horizon. Moderates within the party also started to panic. A Midlands MP who had supported Starmer said anonymously, "I backed Kay for stability, but he's turned into a control freak who can't see when he's gone too far. We're looking at electoral disaster." The situation deteriorated quickly. Members of Parliament from all factions grew disillusioned. Even those loyal to Starmer were now questioning his leadership. Rumors began circulating about potential leadership challenges. It was no longer just about ideological differences, it was about survival. This was today's important update. We want to make it clear that our videos do not contain any kind of misinformation. Our only goal is to deliver true and verified news to you. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the BNN channel.